Hi there, and thank you for tuning into our video. My name is Hope Dorman, and I'm a member of the marketing team here at Houzz. Today, we have a special guest, one of our Houzz contributors, who will share insights from the Fall 2020 High Point Market. Today, we're very lucky to have Becky Harris with us. She is the lead Houzz contributing writer and has contributed thousands of articles in her 10 years writing for Houzz. She was able to attend the show virtually, and we're very excited to hear her thoughts. Becky, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Hope. I'm excited to be here.
So in this webinar, we're going to cover the industry shifts and specific emerging trends coming from the high point market and how it compares to other recent design markets. So to get us started, Becky, can you tell us a bit about the different sessions that you attended?
Yes, I was able to virtually attend all of the Keynote series, and these were 3 different talks from panelists. One was about the future of virtual design services, which a lot of design professionals have had to jump into quite unexpectedly in 2020. Another one was about improving sustainability in the textile industry. And the last one was about the intersection of wellness and design. And that was really interesting because it dovetails so nicely with trends that are happening. Wellness and a healthful home are such a big part of what's driving the trends right now.
That sounds like a really comprehensive set of sessions that you were able to attend. Now, this show's theme was Remix, Refresh, Reimagine. What did you see that most exemplified this theme?
Well, I think it was a very timely theme given what our new normal is. We're all at home all the time. We've had to think of our homes as our offices, our schools, our gyms, as our restaurant. And also, people are around their homes getting bored by things or getting bothered by things. So, everybody's ready for some remixing, refreshing, and reimagining. And for me, High Point is usually kind of a more traditional show. And there was a lot of cutting edge, bold, modern art inspired design this season, and it was really exciting to see all that color and energy and cheerfulness. So I thought the theme fit the show very well.
Definitely sounds like brands are using this 2020 situation that we're all in as an opportunity to have some fun with their new offerings, given the changes that so many people have had to make to their homes that you just spoke of. And so would love to start talking about some general trends. What did you see that popped up throughout the show?
These organic, natural shapes continued to trend, but in contrast to that, there were a lot of sharp sculptural angles and shapes, faceted pieces. We saw faceted chest of drawers, a faceted mirror. That was a big trend. And also a lot of sort of cozy and warm things continued to trend, like warm metals such as brass or champagnes or different gold finishes. As I mentioned, there were a lot of abstract art and modern art inspired prints on textiles, as well as art pieces. We continued to see botanical prints and a lot of nature inspired color and textures and design as well. And that's been trending for a while. And as a part of that, lighter woods with cerused, whitewashed, or limed finishes were trending, and rather than dark woods and woods with orangish tones to them.
That all sounds really fun and a marked difference from the more minimalist trends that we have seen in recent years. Now, getting more specific into trends, color is an area that we all know sees frequent change. What tones or shades were on display? Were there any common themes there?
The biggest common theme is that color ran the gamut. There was so much color I saw at this market, but some of the more specific areas were bold colors, jewel tones. There was a new marigold popping up here and there that's kind of somewhere between like a buttery yellow and a mustard yellow. That was interesting, and it works really well with warm neutral tones like creams and grays. And in terms of neutrals themselves, we've been seeing creams and beiges and tans coming back around and taking up some of that space that all the shades of gray have hogged for the last couple of years. So those kinds of warm neutrals are really big. And I think that dovetails nicely with that cozy, comforting factor that we all need right now. And there were also a lot of nature-inspired colors. I'm seeing a lot of green sofas and mosses and forest greens, watery blues on rugs. And I think that's all part of this wellness and design trend where we try to emulate nature through our interior design and make our rooms give us a good feeling that a good outdoor space gives us.
I definitely see what you're talking about there, and it sounds to me like some of the more vibrant colors that were in style in the 1970s may be coming back. Some of those yellows and greens might be fun to see some of those again. And the next, texture may be hard to discern virtually, but did any textural elements come up again and again?
Yes, I definitely I sound like a broken record, but this nature inspired textures have been trending for the last few markets. Definitely saw a lot of it a year ago at High Point and definitely saw it again this year. Wickers, rattans, woven light fixtures, caned furniture, which is also kind of in line with your 70s reference. I think there's some chic inspiration from the 70s. We're leaving some of the Brady Bunch behind, but the the more sophisticated aspects of the 70s definitely seem like inspiration. I noticed texture on a lot of sideboards and consoles on the doors, whether it's a shell or a fuchsia green or wood in a herringbone pattern, petrified wood. So all those kinds of textures popped up again and again, and there was a wide range and variety. They really add depth to a room, so it was really nice to see so many different options in texture. When it comes to sustainability in textiles, the residential design textiles industry is trying to catch up with some of the strides made by the fashion industry in using recycled materials for fabric. It has some way to go, but one of my talks featured North Carolina company Unify. They make their yarns from recycled bottles, and so far they've repurposed 20 billion plastic bottles into their yarns. So that's a huge improvement, and I'm hoping to continue to see trends in making the textile industry more sustainable.
Wow, that is fantastic that there are some more sustainable textile options coming available. And next, I'd like to ask about lighting because according to the 2020 House and Home study, lighting was the second most frequently purchased home improvement product. Over half of renovating homeowners bought lighting in the previous year. So I really wanted to ask, what's new in lighting?
I'm really glad you asked because lighting is such an important element in design, specifically layering light and having different types of light for different tasks. And a good part of the intersection of wellness and design seminar focused on lighting. So technology is one of the biggest things influencing the lighting market. With LEDs, you can change color, you can change heat, you can really change the entire mood of a room. And they focused on how light can affect our circadian rhythms. For example, colored light like amber can help us get calm and ready for sleep in the evening. And there are also new technologies helping us bring natural light, which is another important element of wellness and design, into the home. There are solar light tubes you can use. They almost look like a recessed light up in your ceiling, but it's natural light coming down through a tube that goes from the roof to the ceiling. And also, we are more easily to control light with motorized window shades. So that can help control the light coming in and how much the light warms up your house, especially on a hot day. Also, just stylistically, natural themes came up in lighting. There were a lot of light fixtures with leaves and branches and floral shapes, chandeliers and pendants and all sorts of lighting.
I believe you and I actually discussed those solar light tubes in our webinar about the 2019 Green Build Trade Show, so perhaps those are becoming a little bit more mainstream. Now let's touch on furniture. What interesting developments did you see here?
So in furniture, I continue to see the inspiration from art with bold abstract art and op art inspired textiles. And there were a lot of large minimalist pieces, but don't get minimalist confused with stark because these were big, comfy pieces that feel like they're cuddling you or embracing you. And we continue to see the trend of the wool boucle fabric, which is, again, speaking to your sort of 70s inspiration. It's kind of a nubby, cozy fabric that adds a lot of texture to a piece.
Once again, it sounds like brands are having some fun with their new offerings after years of maybe muted tones or a lot of clean lines being on trend. So now that we've covered trends, let's discuss how High Point fits in with other shows. Since you attended the Atlanta and Las Vegas markets, did you see any common themes or notable differences from what was presented at those shows and High Point?
A lot of it was very similar. If anything, some of the bolder aspects were ramping up from show to show. Atlanta was first, and then Vegas, and then High Point. From talking with the organizers, Atlanta was sort of the guinea pig show during the pandemic, where they were really getting all of their safety protocols set and seeing how many people would attend. I think they said that they were at about 20 to 25% of the usual attendance, but that everyone that was there for serious commerce and buying, because they're not having any of the fun events or parties or cocktails or any of that at these markets. It's really all about buying. So by the time High Point rolled around, they reported that attendance was between 50 and 60% of usual rates, and they spread the show out over a longer period of time so they could split up the attendees and allow for social distancing. And in spite of that lower attendance, some showrooms noted that even though they had less people come through, they had better sales totals than a year ago. So I thought that was really interesting.
That makes a lot of sense, and hopefully it means that future shows can have an in-person element instead of only being virtual as long as this pandemic is going on. So that's really encouraging. And on a related note, since you've attended in-person trade shows in the past, but you attended this High Point market virtually, how did the digital experience compare to in-person trade shows and markets?
It was challenging to try to get a great sense of the show in terms of it took a really long time to make sure I was seeing as much as I could see when I'm immersed in it in person. They even sent good old fashioned paper catalogs, which were really helpful in calling out trends and seeing the new products. I just really miss the people. I love to talk with designers and vendors and other media folks and the High Point employees. And High Point has such great Southern hospitality. I definitely miss that.
I think we all really miss those in-person aspects of trade shows and doing business, and hopefully we can see more of those extracurricular parts of events come back soon. And before we wrap up today's session, do you have any final takeaways that you'd like to share with our audience?
I was just really impressed with how they handled the safety of all the exhibitors, attendees, and employees with the COVID-19 protocols that they took. And I am very COVID conservative, but I would even consider attending in person in the spring after seeing how careful they were. I mean, when they sent me the pre-market photos, usually you see groups of people and talks and exciting things happening, and half the photos were of Purell stations and social distancing stickers on the floor and people taking temperatures. So it is quite a different scene, but it's a very safe scene, and High Point's a very spread out market, so you're not all in one big convention center or building, so that makes it really nice. There's a lot of fresh air. I would consider going in the spring. Don't hold me to that, but I would consider it. It looks pretty safe.
Well, that is great to hear that these show organizers are taking this really seriously and taking every precaution that they can so that way the show can be a success. And so before we wrap up, Becky, I wanted to say thank you so much for attending the show, joining us today, and giving your thoughts. We're always really lucky to have your insights since there's so much to see at all of these markets and shows, and I know our audience really appreciates it.
Oh, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
And of course, thank you to our audience who tuned in. We appreciate you spending part of your day with us, virtually, of course, and we hope you'll join us for our future Houzz webinars.